I love teachers. I have such a heart for teachers because my mom was a teacher, my dad was a preacher, so I feel like I should have been an of some point. So I'm a trainer, I'm a coach I'm a vice president but I really have a passion for teachers. I love your hearts. And I really feel like my presentation should have been a precursor to the college presentation because I really want to go back to the classroom. But before we start that, I get the opportunity to talk about character and character qualities. And my favorite character quality to talk about is enthusiasm. Because I think that when we are enthusiastic, kids get enthusiastic. They can see it, they can feel it, they can hear it. So my company doesn't always realize that I'm working like on Saturdays. And so I always bring my camera wherever I go. So I want to be able to go back to my company Monday morning and say, I actually worked with awesome people who are investing in the future of our great state. So I'm going to ask you to take a moment and think about if I ask you to be enthusiastic, I want to hear it, see it, feel it, what are you going to do? That was awesome. Okay, so on the count of three, I want to see, hear, and feel enthusiasm. Now I'm expecting student participation. Okay, on the count of three, 1, 2, 3. Didn't you talk about a 20-60-20 rule? I think that was about 20% effort. Let's go back. We are at the Bedlam game, OU, OSU. We are on last play of the game. We're on the 10-yard line. Are we going to make it in to win? Okay? As I do this, I'm going to start on this side of the room, and we're going to be enthusiastic, and I'm going to pan through the rest of the room, so you all have to stay enthusiastic to keep these people going, okay? You might want to stand up and yell. Okay, on the count of 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Give yourselves a round of applause, right? I appreciate you doing that. We're talking about character in the classroom, and I want you just to imagine, actually let's close our eyes. Let's just imagine. Let's take a deep breath. We were so enthusiastic. Imagine that teacher that influenced your life. Think of 3 words that describes that person. We were all influenced, so take a time and imagine that person, get them in your forethought. What did that person have? Now open your eyes and tell me some of those words you thought of. Fun. Love. Pardon me? Love. Patience. What else?
Be accountable.
Accountability. Vision. Compassion.
Two-faced.
Two-faced. I have never heard that one before.
Influence happens in different ways. I see what I don't like in somebody, and that influences me to do something better.
Okay, so that two-faced means you saw the negative and you thought, I never want to be like that. Okay, thank you. I appreciate your honesty and transparency. Are those things that we teach? Compassion, love, accountability. We're going to talk about some of those things today when we talk about character in the classroom. Now, the good news is I am not going to make you all late. I could talk on this for 8 hours. We're going to talk maybe for the next 20 minutes, but you do have the handout in front of you. So I want you to know it is in your workbook, and there is a little slide at the very end with my name and number on it. So you will have access to that information. You can text me, you can email me, you can call me. I always answer my phone because I love people, much like you all do since you're investing in our kids every day. The concept, and who in this room has ever heard of character first? Have you ever heard of character first? Wow, I love that. Strata Leadership purchased Character First in 2012 because we wanted to move character into the business place to go even deeper. Just to let you know, the expert in this room on Character First is Virginia Smith, Dr. Virginia Smith, and she is actually, Virginia, would you stand please? Dr. Virginia Smith is the woman. She has been in the classroom for 20 years. She is the go-to person. Why I'm up here, it's probably because I'm just up here. But next time she will probably be up here. But she is the person that keeps our curriculum going. She also created new curriculum called Engaged for secondary schools. It talks about bullying and character and how do we meld those two together. When we look at this as our foundation, we have found that many of us have been trained on competency all of our life. I remember going to school. When I went to school, we had SRAs. Do you remember SRAs? They're like, you read them and now they have everything online. Life has changed since I was in school. When I was in school, in 2nd grade, Tammy, my nemesis on the playground. And I never spoke a peep. I never did anything bad until I got so done with Tammy that the straw broke the camel's back, and she came to class in 2nd grade, and she sat down and I went like this, and Tammy fell. Guess what happened? No, she did not get hurt. She was upset, but I was sent to the principal's office. At that time, was I more scared of the principal or my parents? Parents. Because I would go to the principal's office, the first thing you'd say, please don't call my parents. And what's the first thing they do? Call your parents. Now things happen in class, and the parents are calling the teacher saying, what did you do to provoke my child? I get that mentality. We have gone from a full service attitude to self-service. We are raising kids in an area where they do not have to have eye contact with anybody. They do not have to have a conversation with anyone. My son, who is 18, is constantly like this, carpal tunnel syndrome. And so we look at, as teachers, we are now being taught and encouraged to teach to the test. Because test scores are so important, because if we don't hit these test scores, what happens? When I was on the Oklahoma City School Board, I had no idea until I got in 90% of those kids are on free and reduced lunch. And so you think, yes, it's our job to keep them competent and to teach them so they can have a better life, accountability, passion, love, to learn those things. But this is where it really comes in when we start talking about character. This is the skill to do things. This is the will. So let's talk about, how do kids at all ages learn character? Where do we learn our character from? Media. Right now, that's the #1 place where kids are learning principles, integrity, honesty. My son, I asked him, I said, let's talk about the news today. And I'll bring up a subject, and he's like, well, that wasn't on Facebook. No, it's not. We need to be looking at other sources. So as teachers, you all play a huge role in the character piece, because some people do not have the examples of what it means to be a man, a woman, a person of integrity that can speak into their life. And when I think about teachers, I think you all are the stepping stone for our nation, our state. You're making a difference whether you believe it or not. I was talking to my mom this morning. She lives in Norman, so last night I came down to spend the night to have mom time. And so this morning I love staying with my mom because she brings me a cup of coffee to bed, and I don't get that at my house, right? I'm that person. So she brought my cup of coffee, and we're sitting on my bed and we're talking, and she goes, now what are you talking about today? And I told her, and she goes, you know, I still have 3 students that still on Facebook tell me what they're doing and that I impacted their lives. I said, Mom, there are probably 10 times that just don't know what your new last name is. That's what you all are doing, and we are so thankful that you're here, because being here shows me that you care about that next generation, that you care about the character piece, that it's more than just teaching knowledge, but it's connecting that head with the heart. So when we talk about character, we talk about the mental model. What is the mental model of our students? If they're coming to school hungry, the mental model is, I am here to eat lunch, or I'm here to eat breakfast. If they're coming to school acting up, it's because character is taught. Yes, we have to have the words, but we have to have the role models. What is right from wrong? As presented earlier, they don't know what they don't know. We don't know what we don't know until it's been presented to us. Now, we also show on our form that it has to be in a triangle. You can't have all character and no competence. You have to have a balance of both to consistently create opportunities to be productive. There are many people that we can see in the media that are extremely competent with what they do. They may be great on a football field, and then they get caught on an elevator having an altercation. We may know what's right, but then we have to show what's right. And as teachers, this gives us the opportunity not to only look at the competency side, but to model for them character. So these are the character qualities that we teach and that we use within our curriculum. We talk about these before anything happens. Normally, the only time we bring up character in a classroom is when something has gone awry. What would happen if we took these character qualities and talked about them before somebody got in trouble? Let's talk about patience. Let's talk about respect. What does respect look like in the classroom? What are the expectations? So then when somebody yells out in class or does something that's disrespectful, you can say, let's rewind that. And a couple months ago, we were talking about respect. What does that mean? If you're talking about it and modeling it, it's bound to have an effect on our kids. If you look at this, to truly develop a culture of character, you have to do three things, and you all probably know this. You have to educate, evaluate, and celebrate. I think as educators, we're great at educating our students. Sometimes, though, we say one thing and do another. Has anyone ever done that? Never. Look, two people. Great. Okay. So the two of us, we're going to talk about that. When my daughter first started driving, I said, no texting and driving. What was mom doing? Right? So I thought, okay, competence, character, I'm missing the character piece. So I had to put my phone on silent, put it in my purse, not even look at it. My daughter's first wreck, only wreck, she was texting and driving. So now my son knows that I don't text and drive because I have modeled that for him. However, strata leadership is not on my license plate because my right foot may get a little heavy sometimes. The other day I was coming home from the office a little bit early before I changed to go to a different event, and it's 4:30 in the afternoon, and I see these sirens, police lights at the bank near the intersection where I turn off, and I thought, ooh, someone's robbed the bank. So, me being the rubbernecker, I'm looking, and it was my son who was pulled over. So I immediately do what all mothers do when your son is pulled over by the police, is you call them. Like they're going to answer the phone when the police officer is right there, right? And so he did not answer, so I got to my house, and then I have this app called Find Friends. If you all don't have it, you need it. You can track your kids. It's a good thing. Yes, that was him for sure. I was just confirming. He came home. He walks in. I go, dude, were you pulled over by the police? Yeah, Mom, it was stupid. And he goes, it was just a warning. And hold on. That's the law. What stupid thing did you do? He said, well, Mom, he had someone pulled over. Instead of pulling out a lane, I had to exit, so I didn't pull over because I had to exit. And he was upset that I didn't move over a lane because that's a new law. You have to move over a lane, just to let you all know, because you will get caught. And so he told him, he goes, I'm sorry, but I was exiting on May and you were right there, and so I had to do what I had to do. And he goes, and yeah, Mom, this was my fourth warning. What were the other three for? Speeding? Who's that fall on? Me. Because I modeled for him, if you're in a hurry, it's okay, right? So we have to be consistent. So as we're looking at this model, and I'm not going to go through everything, we have to educate our people. We have to be teaching these different character qualities on a regular basis, as well as walking them out. Because actions speak louder than words. We have to evaluate. We have to catch people doing good. We have to notice. And what's really fun, when you start noticing your people doing something really well, then other kids, other students will catch each other. Hey, I really like your attentiveness. I really like the thoroughness that you had when you talked about your paper and the research that you did. They start catching each other doing well, and it builds them up. It's really interesting. I had a conversation with a couple of employees this past week. And I sat down with them and I said, you know what I really appreciate in you? Here's what I've seen over the past few weeks. And I started naming some character qualities. I now have Kleenex in my office because they both started crying and I felt horrible. And I said, did I upset you? And they said, no, but all my life I've only been caught doing the wrong things. And when you're telling me I'm doing something right, it makes me emotional. And I said, well, I'm keeping Kleenex in here because you're going to hear this quite a bit. And pretty soon you're going to start using that same language. And they both said, we hope we do. Because once we're modeling that for each other, peers have a huge influence on how classrooms are and keeping people intact. Then we have to celebrate. A lot of times we forget to celebrate. We're going down this path, we're trying to study for this test, we're trying to make all of our kids fit into this box. And you know we don't have a box, but the State Department wants us to have a box of you hit these standards and this will happen. We have to celebrate. We have to let them know what excites us. Because we have found whatever you recognize or reward, you get more of. At our office each month, we recognize the people who are having a work anniversary with a certificate that says, Lynn Watson, and you're being recognized for, my very first one was gentleness. And I'm thinking out of all the different character qualities, gentleness is not a word that rolls off the top of my tongue. I'm thinking enthusiasm, I'm thinking joy, I'm thinking positivity, and they said gentleness, and I went, I can't wait to hear this story. Because when you give that award, then you have to give a specific example of what that looked like. And I thought, I can't wait to hear when I was ever gentle, because I don't. And then I started thinking, so he gave the example, and I went, oh yeah, I was gentle then. And then I thought, whatever you recognize, you get more of. And I thought, oh, got it. You want me to be more gentle. Okay, I can do that. Because I find myself like walking into people's offices when they're in a meeting and because I've got something to tell them. Oh, okay, I get that. Maybe I should knock. Because whatever you recognize, you get more of. When students are not coming to class on time, the time they do, you talk about their punctuality and thank you. When you are punctual to class, that's showing not only me, but your classmates respect. So they're going to think, oh, I better be punctual next week too. And you have to start thinking, what does that look like? So I want you all to know that celebrating, if we don't celebrate the good stuff, a lot of times it's so easy for us as adults to forget those words that we spoke about the person that made a difference in our life. We get so jaded by everything else that we have to do as teachers, administrators, that we forget, how did that teacher make me feel? Am I making my people feel that same way? And if not, how can I do that? You can speak life into them. That is the beauty of being a teacher. You have that opportunity to completely change lives. My first grade teacher actually changed my life, and I had no idea what she was doing at the time, but she prepared me to make it through second grade. I would have not have survived second grade without my first grade teacher. And I thank her on a regular basis. But it was then in 10th grade where we got journal prompts and we would write journal entries every day in 10th grade. And she would collect them every Friday, come back every Monday, give them back. And On one of my prompts, she said something. I said, "Life is not fair!" Exclamation point. That's all I wrote that day. And when she got it back, it said to me, "Who told you life was fair?" Ouch. But then I never appreciated, at the time I was not appreciative of that remark because I thought life should be fair, and if I work hard, then things will happen. And she said, "You know, who told you life was fair?" And I'm like, I don't know, but I always assumed that. I found that spiral notebook because I think that made such a milestone mark on my life that I now thank her. Because I realized she was speaking truth into my life, and I did not appreciate it till I got to college. And then even in college, there were sometimes I'm like, but you all can make that difference. I want to encourage you that how you move throughout your day, how you have a relationship with students. I have seen schools turn around because of the relationship, not only the teacher, but the administrators have with each student. When I was on the board, I had one of my schools that the principal knew every child's name in that school. That's how schools should be. And when the superintendent came to me and said, "Hey, I want to move this principal to this other school," and I said, "Not over my dead body. And you can kill me now, and let me tell you why." Because she knows every child's name in that school. She knows every parent, every guardian, every grandmother, every aunt. And she is making a difference. They are succeeding. He said, "Well, that's why I want to change her to a different school so that other school will succeed." I said, if we pour into our teachers and administrators for them to have a relationship with their kids, all of our schools will succeed. So I encourage you all, I'm not going to go through the rest of the presentation, I encourage you all to think about, am I leading with character? Are we talking about that? If you need tools to help you with that, give me a call. Be happy to work with you, happy to connect you with Virginia, to give you the tools to help model that for the next generation. Thank you all.